Okay. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. We are going to be talking about the MSSW program here at U of L in the Kent School of Social Work and Family Science. And we are happy you joined us this evening. The admissions team here in the Kent School is myself and Ellie Cortez. We are admissions coordinators. We communicate with applicants by splitting them up by last name. So if your last name starts with letters A through L of the alphabet, you'll be corresponding with me, and M through Z with Ellie. And then we are joined today by the Associate Director and the Program Manager for the MSSW admissions, Valerie Miller, and she also works with our scholarships. So she is a great resource to have here on our call tonight. A little outline about what we're going to go over. For those that are really just in the exploration phase and want to know more about what social work is, we're going to talk a little bit about what social work is generally as a profession, as a field and profession. We're going to talk about the MSSW program here that we have at U of L. We'll briefly touch on the practicum experience in social work, our campus resources, how you apply for the MSSW, our deadlines, tuition and financial aid, and then leave time for questions. So what is social work? Social work is a profession, and it really encompasses anything that is working towards improving social conditions and alleviating social problems that have developed over time. A lot of times this means advocating on behalf of marginalized populations and creating social service organizations that are responsive to human needs. So that can be as basic as food, shelter, and those types of things. And it can also be psychological needs. Many people want to go into social that want to be a therapist and practice therapy. But really social work is broad, but it is to help people. When we're talking about the levels of social work practice, there are 3 levels of social work that you can work in. You can work in the most small micro level, which involves working with families, relationships, or even just individuals. So that would be the micro level of social work. The meso level of social work describes working with medium-sized systems. So this could be like a community, like a geographical community. It could also be something like working in a school or a medical setting, something that is more than just the individuals, but a medium-sized setting. And then macro involves the largest setting, and that is working to go into the larger systemic issues. So a lot of times that means policy work. So advocating for more just and fair policies and laws that affect everyone. So what can you do with a social work degree? A lot of people, when they hear social work, they might immediately think of child protection agencies or foster care, that type of thing. But really, social work is anywhere that there are people, there's likely a social worker. So this is just a list of some places that you can find social workers or types of jobs that people with a master's of social work might do. So something like a case manager or a probation officer, so working in the criminal justice system, working as a career counselor. You could continue in academia and become a college professor. You could work in a group home. You could work in wellness and training for corporate organizations. Anything that's in improving the lives of others and working towards helping them. When we look at the job outlook for social workers, it is positive. The the Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks jobs across the country. And as of May of 2024, the job outlook estimated about 7% growth. 7% may not seem like a high number, but that actually is above the national average in career fields for growth. Sometimes if you look on the BLS website, you'll see a lot of professions will have 1 to 2% growth or may even have negative growth. But for social work is 7% growth, so there is going to be more jobs and jobs available, and we need social workers. So here's some data about what the average salaries are for social workers. The median annual wage in May of 2024 was $61,000. And then you can see the breakdown of some different types of social workers. So healthcare social workers had a median wage of $68,000. And then you can see other educational services, local government, state government, and mental health and substance use disorder social workers, their salaries listed there. Of course, that's going to be dependent on your location, whether you're working for a nonprofit or working in a corporate field. Your other years of working experience are all going to go into the salary, but this is the average. It's important to talk about licensure when you're looking at social work programs. Our program meets the academic requirements for licensure for both your master's level licensure and then also the clinical social work licensure for all 50 states. So for the participants here that are joining from North Carolina and DC and Ohio, our program will meet the requirements in your state if you want to stay there. And then also for those that are in Kentucky, if you are looking to move out of the state, you can rest assured that our program will meet those requirements. So the way that licensure typically works is at the end of your master's degree, you can sit for your master's level licensure exam. If you pass that exam, then you have your master's level license. If you want to go on and pursue your LCSW, your clinical social work licensure, typically that involves working in the field underneath someone else's license, being supervised by someone with the license for usually about 2 years to gain those supervision hours. And then after you have accumulated those hours, you would sit for another exam. And that exam, if you pass that exam, then you would have your LCSW. So if you are perusing jobs for social workers, you can kind of take a look and see which jobs are requiring just a master's level licensure or which jobs require the LCSW. You may find that the LCSW is going to give you more options for employment. So why the Kent School? The Kent School of Social Work and Family Science is located here at the University of Louisville, and it's rated the best social work program in the state of Kentucky. We are centered in Kentucky's largest metropolitan city of Louisville, and we prepare social workers nationally and globally for careers in advanced social work practice through lenses of anti-oppression, anti-racism, while promoting social justice. Our MSSW program is the oldest in the state. We're actually celebrating 90 years of social work education here at the Kent School. That means that we have a rich history that a lot of community organizations have partnered with our programs over the years, and we have a great reputation in working with those community partners here in Louisville. We provide a generalist social work education that provides students for ethical, evidence-informed, advanced social work practice with diverse, vulnerable, and marginalized individuals, families, groups, organizations, and communities. So that's a little bit about our program here at the Kent School. Something really great about our program is that we have a lot of different ways that you can individualize and customize our coursework to fit your needs. Overall, if you do have a BSW, a Bachelor's of Social Work, from a Council of Social Work Education accredited school, then you would qualify for our Advanced Standing program, which is a 30 credit hour program. We do accept all majors and all degrees. So for those that did not major in social work, for undergrad, our traditional or regular program is 60 credit hours. And really you can make the degree work for you and what your needs are. So we have, you can complete our program fully on campus or online. Most of our online classes right now are going to be asynchronous, but we are working to add more synchronous courses. So asynchronous means that there is not a class meeting time that you would log on to. The lectures would be pre-recorded. And of course, there's going to be pacing and deadlines for the classes, but you would not be required to come into like a Teams or a Zoom meeting for the courses. So that's a good option for, you know, fully remote students, fully online students. You can do our degree full-time or part-time, and you can begin our degree in summer, fall, or spring semesters. And at any time, if you are full-time and you want to go down to part-time, or vice versa, if you start out as a part-time student and want to go to full-time, that is not a problem at all. Same way with the modality in terms of being on campus or online. Some other ways that you can customize your degree. We have some partnerships with some other academic programs on campus where you can actually earn more than one master's degree at the same time. So our dual degree programs, there is one other master's degree program here in the Kent School, and that's the MS in Couples and Family Therapy. That program is fully in person, so that is important to know that even with it being in the Kent School, that program is an in-person program. We also partner with the MA in Pan-African Studies, the MA in Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies, the Juris Doctorate, which is the professional school for law, the Master of Divinity through the Louisville Seminary, the MA in Healthcare Ethics, and then we also partner with the Latin American and Latino Studies for a graduate certificate. So if you are interested in any of those, you would apply to those programs as well. And if accepted into both programs, then you would work with your academic advisors to ensure that you are on track to complete both of those degrees simultaneously. When you apply to the MSSW program, you are applying on the general track, but you can also add concentrations. If you have a particular interest in these populations or know that this is an area that you want to either learn more about or work in, we have 7 concentrations. So those are alcohol and drug counseling, gerontology, which is working with the elderly, mental health social work, military social work, psychosocial oncology / medical, social work, school social work, and our newest concentration is forensic social work. So you'll apply and be accepted as a general MSSW student. And then if you'd like to declare a concentration, you'd work with your advisor on doing that. And you'll know what classes that you need to take. And then it would also, you would do your practicum placement in that area as well. In terms of practicum, practicum is a hallmark of MSSW study. It's where social work knowledge, theories, values, and ethics are integrated into applied social work practice. So you're putting the learning that you're doing into action. So it's like an internship, but a little more hands-on, maybe a little more direct. And we have practicum staff here that help support our students, both our online and on-campus students, in securing those placements. So that is not something that will be left solely up to you. Our practicum office will reach out to you and help get that process started. You actually apply for practicum. And so from there, they make sure that you are matched with an appropriate practicum site. So at practicum, you'll have on-site learning with regular supervision and professional development. Each practicum is 2 semesters long. So that's typically fall to spring or spring to summer. In the 60 credit hour program, you complete 2 practicums. In the 30 credit hour program, you will have already had 1 practicum in your bachelor's degree. So you'll have 1 practicum in the 30-hour program. A little bit about how much time you're spending at a practicum. So your first generalist practicum placement is 450 hours total, so about 225 each semester. So 16 hours a week in fall and spring, or if you're doing spring and summer, about 20 hours a week. And then your advanced practicum is a little more than that. It's 500 hours total. Who will supervise you? So you'll have a practicum supervisor at your site. So that is a professional that has an MSW or MSSW degree with at least 2 years of postgraduate experience, and they work full-time in the field of social work. And what you'll be doing really depends on your site and what your role is there, but it is direct face-to-face or virtual practice with clients. And so you'll be on site, again, with regular supervision and professional development there. So the same applies in terms of the variety that we have. So our practicum settings, you can have a practicum anywhere from an alcohol and drug program to schools, mental health agencies, in the medical setting, or military or veterans programs, immigrant and refugee services. We just have a ton of options to hopefully fit your needs and get you the experience for what you'll want to do after graduation. We do have professional advisors, which is a little unique. And a lot of master's programs, students are advised by faculty, but here at the Kin School, we have professional advisors that work with you to help keep track of all of the classes and requirements that you need, especially because we have so many different ways to customize your degree, and because we have students that work full-time, we have students that are full-time students, we have students that relocate. So we have advisors here to work with you. So they split up the alphabet with students just the way that Ellie and I do. So Connie Cox is the advising coordinator for A through L, and Wynobe Williams is the advising coordinator for M through Z. And they are led by Jennifer Foreman, the Associate Director of Advising. As a graduate student at U of L, you also have access to all of U of L's campus resources. So you're able to access and utilize the Counseling Center, plan professional development, which is the professional development part of the graduate school at U of L. So they do some social programs, but some programming about research, about, it's a little more specific in terms of resume writing or CV writing, things like that. That's really geared more towards graduate students. The Writing Center, our Disability Resource Center, the Career Center, the Center for Belonging, Access, and Engagement, and the Center for Military Connected Students. So you'll have access to all of those resources, and many of them do have virtual options. All right, so let's talk about the application process. So the requirements to apply to the MSSW program, we have a preferred cumulative GPA of 3.0. We do not require the graduate record exam, the GRE. And then each applicant will have different pieces of their application that they submit through the graduate school. So when you go to submit your application for the MSSW, you'll create an account and you'll complete an online application. The graduate school includes 2 short essays where you can choose from 8 prompts and do a little short essay response. And then you'll want to submit all your official transcripts from any academic credit that you've earned. If you are currently still earning academic credit, you can submit your transcript. Like if you haven't graduated with your bachelor's yet, you can submit your transcript now, and then we'll need another one once you've finished your degree. We do have a writing sample. The prompts are in the application itself and also on our application checklist. The writing sample gives you a chance to show your writing skills. We want to see that you have emerging graduate level writing, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And it also gives us a chance to get to know you as an applicant and what you're looking for in a graduate program. We also require 2 letters of recommendation. If you have been in the classroom within the last 2 years, one of those letters of recommendation needs to be from a faculty member or instructor of a course that you've had. And then the other letter of recommendation needs to be a professional recommendation, so someone that has supervised you. If you have not been in the classroom in the last 2 years, then you'll submit 2 professional recommendations. If you've only had 1 job and 1 supervisor, you can also use supervisors of volunteer experiences or internships that you've had, something like that, but it does need to be somebody that has a supervisory role. You'll also submit a resume, and then we have a $65 non-refundable application fee. And there are, if you look on the graduate school's website, there are some instances where that fee can be waived. We do have application checklists on our website, and you can find those there. Hopefully we've put everything in writing to help that process, but you can also reach out to us and we can walk you through anything that you have questions about. So some tips and tricks. The letters of recommendation, we always recommend that applicants reach out to more recommenders than the 2 that you need. A lot of well-meaning people want to help you, but sometimes they just get busy. So we always recommend reaching out more than the 2. I talked about how applicants that have not been enrolled in classes may have a second professional reference. And you want to avoid having any personal recommenders. So no coworkers or mentors or advisors, things like that. If you do not meet the 3.0 GPA requirement that we have, you can provide what's called an addendum to your application. And in the addendum, you would discuss anything about your academic record that led to having lower than the 3.0 and how you've resolved those issues. Sometimes people start out in a major that is really not for them. And it takes them a while to find out. So it's not uncommon that we'll see people with lower GPAs from, their first few semesters when they were maybe majoring in something that wasn't a good fit for them. So that would be perfectly acceptable to discuss in your addendum. Or there can be other things that happen. Maybe you had a personal health issue or a family emergency or something like that, and you can discuss any of that kind of thing in the addendum. And then you'll want to include any strategies that you've learned or that you have or resources that you're aware of that can help support your academic study moving forward into graduate work. For transfer credit, typically graduate transfer credit is unusual, but we do have some instances where transfer credit can count towards our degree. It just really is on a case-by-case basis. So if you have taken MSW classes elsewhere, you can reach out to us and we will give you a transfer credit evaluation form and we'll go from there. So for our deadlines, if you want to start in summer, there's still a little bit of time left to apply. So the application deadline to start in summer, which is in May, our application deadline is March 21st. If you want to start in the fall semester, the application deadline is July 1st. And if you're looking at starting next spring, which would be next January, the application deadline is November 1st. These deadlines, if you are interested in a fall application and you see you have until July 1st, we recommend not waiting until July 1st if possible. We recommend applying as early as you can. That just gives you a chance to secure funding, to get your practicum evaluation in and things like that. But those are our deadlines. So how do you apply for practicum? So the practicum office, once you are accepted to the program, they'll reach out to you, to your official U of L email address. And so you'll want to make sure that you are checking that email address so that you get that communication with them. They have their own placement deadlines. So for a spring summer placement, you'll want to apply by September 15th if you're not local, and that gives them a little more time to help you find somewhere, especially if you are somewhere where we have not had many students from. And then local students, the deadline is a little bit further into the semester, October 30th for local, that's for spring summer placement. For fall spring placement, May 15th for non-local and June 30th for local students. If you do miss those deadlines, you can still apply for practicum, but they cannot guarantee that you will receive a placement for the semester you're requesting. All right, let's talk about the cost. So the cost of attending the Kent School. So full-time tuition, which for graduate work is 9 credit hours, for full-time would be $7,652 for a Kentucky resident and $15,554 for a non-Kentucky resident. If you are going to do part-time or fully online, then you pay by credit hour, which is $850 for residents And then if you're doing part-time, not online, it's per credit hour would be $1,729. So you can, I recommend going on the Bursar's office website and looking over that very thoroughly. We do have scholarships. We offer them every fall and spring semester. You can see the deadlines there for when the portal is open to apply for the scholarships. We try to give as many student scholarships as possible. They're not going to be scholarships that pay for your whole semester, but hopefully you'll have something to put towards your tuition. Other students might look for graduate assistantships. A graduate assistantship is kind of like a part-time job on campus. So we've had MSSW students get graduate assistantships in places like Housing and Residence Life here, so working in the residence halls. The PEACE program, which is the Violence Intervention and Prevention program. The graduate school, online education office, those are going to change and be subject to availability. They may only be able to have one graduate assistant at a time, and so they'll have that graduate assistant until that student is done with their graduate work. But you'll have access to look at those postings and apply for graduate assistantships after you're accepted. To be able to apply for the scholarships, you'll have to have a FAFSA on file, but we recommend that students fill that out to get the most information that they can regarding their funding options. The Traeger Institute does provide an internship that they provide a stipend. And so that is something else that you could look into. It's a one-year medical social work placement, and it trains students to work with age-friendly care coordination and behavioral health intervention. So that is another option to keep in mind. So to prepare to apply and to prepare for graduate school, what are the things that you can do now? Well, firstly, if you're still in courses, you'll want to establish or maintain good relationships with your professors. You'll also want to be aware of your cumulative GPA and work to keep it above a 3.0. If you are below the 3.0, you can think about what you can do to maintain a strong GPA in the more rigorous graduate level coursework and prepare to write the addendum. You'll also want to talk with people that you may know who have completed a graduate program. You'll want to think about the types of social work and practicum placements that interest you. And lastly, you can set up a one-on-one meeting with myself or the other MSSW admissions coordinator. We do have a presence on social media, so feel free to look us up there. Those are the handles for that. And if anything, if you leave with anything tonight, please know that we're here to help. So again, I do the applicant communication with applicants with last names ending A through L. And Ellie is my trusty colleague. She was actually recruiting today, out recruiting, and she works with students M through Z. We have a general email that you can reach out to us. It's msswkent@Louisville. And then we have our admissions, or I'm sorry, our MSSW website. If you do have any specific questions about practicum, we always defer to the practicum education office just so you get the most accurate information. But if you do have questions about that, they have a general email that you can email, and it's fieldedu@louisville.edu. And they also have their own website. If you want to be put on our list, we don't spam you. We don't send you 1,000 emails every day. But if you do want to hear from us, we'll reach out to you to set up a one-on-one appointment if that's what you want, or just to receive more information. Or ask any questions, you can scan this QR code, and that will put you on our interest list. And then if you have a moment and you want to fill out the program information session survey, here is a QR code for that as well. All right. So I thank you all for being here tonight. Please feel free to ask any questions. You can use the little raise hand feature if you want, or if you feel comfortable unmuting, you can ask your question. We are here to give you any information that you are looking for. Looks like the chat was pretty quiet today. A little bit of questions about medical social work, practicum questions. Yes, and you can also add questions to the chat. Maybe you have screaming children, maybe you are at work. Feel free to pop them in the chat as well. Anything to add, Valerie?
I think we've covered everything. If anybody's got any questions, we're happy to help you.
Yeah, we'll stay on
Make
for a
sure
little
that
bit.
you take that email down, because sure enough, tonight, sometime you'll say, I wish I would have asked that. And you can email us at 11, 12, whenever. Then we're not going to email you back until tomorrow. So it's raining here. We're going to be snoozing. But we will answer you tomorrow if you have any questions, or if you want to ask anything here. We'll do our best to answer. And please check over the chat. I put a lot of information in there. There's a lot of, we just launched our new website. So I had to go through and make sure all my links were working. I added a bunch of new links in there for you to give you information on practicum, on several different items. So lots of good information in the chat for you. You are most welcome. Thank you. Okay. Someone has their hand up. Let me see if I can unmute. Can we unmute it? No. Okay. It looks like I think you can unmute. So if you want to unmute and speak, that's fine. You are most welcome. I can't see your name, LJ. Someone has their hand up, or did have their hand up. Okay, here we are. Oh, okay. Let's see, let me get back to the chat. Looks like it's in here. Is there going to be support post-graduation for finding work in licensure and other states, and what does that look like? Okay, we don't really support you on finding licensure in other states. that will be up to you. If you live in a state, what I suggest, in a state other than Kentucky, you probably live in a state, but if you live in a state other than Kentucky, I would suggest getting online and researching for the licensure requirements. You can find that. I think we had it up there on the screen, but look up your social work, your NASW, and you can look up your state and your area to find out what licensure requirements your state has. We meet the educational requirements, but licensure can be different for every state. So you'll want to check your state out to make sure that you've got what you need for your particular state. I can tell you we have had students who actually became employed where they did their practicum. Sometimes they just stay and it works out wonderfully. So anyone else have any questions? This
Well,
time.
thank you so much for spending some time with us this evening. It is a bummer whenever we have just 1 to 2 participants that we don't actually get questions from. So we like questions. We want to be here to help and support you. So thanks for your attention. And like I